All right, guys. So we are here today. What's up, Wealth? What's up, Mo? What's up, team? All right, let's pull everything up. We got Nvidia dropping earnings today. It's all the way down at 680s. So Nvidia has pulled back heavy over the last day. Look at Nvidia here. So Nvidia, big dip at the opening bell yesterday, and it never really held. It didn't really hold down. It bounced back a little bit, but it did have a pretty big breakdown. All right, so today, all right. So sorry, let me fix this. All right, there we go. I'm going to get some music going in a second as well. We have a bunch of Fed speakers, the FOMC Fed Minutes report, and all right, team. What's up, Bow? Cooler hand. Anything else y'all are looking at today? Again, Nvidia all the way down at 680s. It looks like my thesis on why I wasn't buying up anything was correct. Looks like it was the right move. Baba almost up to 74.50s here. You love to see it. What else am I in? I'm in Boeing as well. We're flat on Boeing. That's okay. Palo Alto dropping like a rock. We also have some earnings dropping this morning as well. Nothing really big, though. Like, we got MPW, Analog, Wingstop, Wix, Photronics, HSBC is one of the bigger ones this morning. But it's pretty slow. We don't really have a lot of stuff going on. So the bubble is not over. Yeah, I mean, I said yesterday, guys, I don't know if you guys caught me yesterday, but one of the things I said yesterday, sorry, I'm kind of watching something in the background, but one of the things I said yesterday is I'm not really buying up anything right now. I think the market is simply too extended on the upside, personally, right now. Yeah, so I just think the market is a little bit too high up for me to really want to buy stuff up. I'm typically a bull, but I'm not buying up at all periods of time. It's not like I'm just blindly buying at all periods of time, especially not right now. I think markets are up too much. I think Nvidia earnings mixed with Fed speakers mixed with the Fed Minutes report can drastically influence prices and markets, and I'm just not trying to buy up a lot of stuff. What's up, James? Cooler hand, Bow, Yair. Did you buy the Palo Alto dip? Honestly, I don't even know what Palo Alto does, brother. Explain to me what that company does, because I really have no idea. I'm assuming it's PANW. I really just don't know the company, bro. I don't know the company. I'm not trying to buy it. Like, I stick to stocks that I understand and I know the business behind. That's a company I don't understand, you know. Anyways, let me put some music going. There we go. All right. What's up? All right, so we got AI up. All right. All right, so again, oh yeah, let me share the music here. My bad, guys. That's what I'm forgetting. Thank you, Pawn. Let me stop this, fix this, share this. Yeah, I was listening to it in the background. Box like wait 3 days before dipping your toes. Yeah, I don't know about Palo Alto. Cybersecurity leaders. Okay, gotcha. All right, so sorry, I'm doing some math here in the background. Y'all forgive me. All right, so times 0.8, which would be All right, sorry, I'm doing some math in the background, guys. Forgive me. Palo Alto reduced guidance by 3%. Yeah, shares are down 23%. What's the symbol? Palo Alto. All right, it's PANW. Whew, they are down big. They reduced guidance, though. Reduced guidance is bad. That's probably what this is just reduced guidance. 3% is it's too little. It should bounce. I don't know, man. I think it's tough. I think it could do either one. A lot of Fed speakers this week. We also have the FOMC Minutes report and a bunch of other stuff as well. And so, yeah, I mean, Palo Alto, it's a big drop. It's a big drop. I don't know enough about the company to say if it's justified or not. But I might buy up a little bit of this. It can only be a small share size, though, because this thing moves a lot, right? So I could only buy up maybe 5 shares. And I can't buy it yet. I'm going to have to wait until... I can't buy anything on TOS until after 7. So... All right, so Palantir all the way down to 2260s. I'll probably try to buy PANW once I can. It's going to be a small, low-risk trade. Trades turned into investments when done wrong. I didn't see a lot of decreases like PNW did. Tradable, of course. I don't know, man. Grand Rising in the chat. What's up? Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn on this. So we are down on PANW to 279.50s. We traded both MicroStrategy, got 40 points. Where did Bitcoin end? Bitcoin all the way down to 51, still over 50s. Yeah, we're certainly going to cover the entire Nvidia call. All right, so the FOMC Minutes report, live at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nvidia earnings go live after 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So here's basically the schedule of it right here. Yeah, we're going to cover all of it for sure. Let me see. I had a... There we go. Let me switch over to this email. Yeah, and again, it's interesting. At the minimum, check the options all. Yeah, so again, I'm probably going to consider... Nvidia will dump after market. Well, let me do a poll here. Sorry, I know I'm banging away on this mic here. Hey, top 3 typers in the world. Question of the day, buy, sell, or hold Nvidia. Oof, I don't know. Nvidia's down a lot already. If we look at Nvidia, there's the Q. The Q is down. Here's Nvidia. Nvidia's all the way down to 680s, which isn't the biggest drop. It had the biggest drop yesterday at the opening bell. I'm assuming this was from Supermicro Semiconductors dipping at the opening bell as well. So that's what I'm seeing right now. There's Nvidia. And again, I might buy PANW. Alright. Earnings will be great, but yeah, we'll see what they do. What's up, Beach Bum? Nvidia will be, but we'll all care about up and down. Yeah. Nvidia bad guide. I don't know. We'll see. Again, it's an interesting time. It's an interesting time. All right, so let me read the Wall Street Journal's headlines. Fubo sued media companies planning to launch a new sports streaming platform, alleging they wouldn't let Fubo carry a bundle of channels that is set to be included in the new service. So Fubo getting mad at media companies that basically allowed another streaming service to carry their channels, but they didn't allow Fubo to. You know, AI is just incredibly useful, man. Incredibly useful. Let me find it. And today, remember, we got the FOMC Fed Minutes report dropping today. All right, so, and again, we got the FOMC Minutes report today. We got a lot of stuff dropping. Today is the busiest day of the week by far. We have Nvidia earnings, which can massively move markets. And we also have the FOMC Minutes report. So I'm going to explain to you guys here. Remember, so the Fed meets every 6 weeks to make their interest rate decision. What they're moving is the federal funds rate. The federal funds rate is actually a rate in which influences bank margins. What the federal funds rate technically is, if you want to get specific, it's the rate banks charge each other to borrow money overnight. So it's the rate banks charge each other to borrow money overnight. Eventually, this trickles into like actual interest rates, like mortgage rates and stuff like that. And the reason the Fed does this is because the Fed does this in order to combat inflation. So if inflation is really high, for instance, the Fed will raise rates. They will do rate hikes, is what it's called. So they'll raise rates, raising the federal funds rate, making banks more expensive, making the federal funds rate, the rate banks charge each other to borrow funds overnight. It makes it more expensive for banks, and then the banks make it back through raising interest rates to consumers. And what happens when interest rates are raised to consumers? When interest rates go up, consumers stop spending as much. Things are more expensive. Like if it's more expensive to think about it like this, right? If the interest rate right now is 5%, right? Or let's do a more polarized number. If the interest rate right now is 8%, people are spending a lot of money on their mortgage. What does that mean? That means that they can't spend as much money on other things, right? What happens when spending dries up? Businesses lower prices. Thus, it combats inflation. That's the cycle of it, is that federal funds rate gets raised, Banks in turn raise interest rates to consumers. When interest rates are higher, instead of paying $1,500 a month in a mortgage, you're paying $3,000 a month in a mortgage, and you can't spend that other $1,500 on other stuff. And when that spending dries up, businesses have to lower prices. It's supply and demand, and so that is what happens with the Fed. And yeah, today is going to be not an actual press conference. So today is not a rate hike decision. Today is a recap of the last rate hike decision, which was a pause. The real question is, do they say anything, like any foresight, any deep foresight into what they might potentially do in March is the real question. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm getting ready to potentially buy Palo Alto at the open, at the market at 7 a.m. when I can actually start trading. Yeah, I saw Capital One acquiring Discover. High stock market makes inflation worse. Well, kind of, in a lot of different ways. It's super nuanced, though. It's not just high stock market makes inflation worse, and to a certain extent, high inflation makes stock prices higher. You know why? Is because if buying power goes down, companies have to make more and more money to break even, right? And so in that regard, it's going to make the stock price go higher just because they're technically making more money, even though they're kind of breaking even because of inflation, if that makes sense, right? So it's super nuanced. There's the other aspect of it where, stock market gains, people make more money in the stock market. When they make more money in the stock market, what do? They tend to spend it, and spending anything that, the easiest way to understand this economic sense is like anything that contributes to more spending is bad, right? So anything that contributes to more spending is bad for inflation, not necessarily bad. It's good for the economy, right? So it's always a balancing act, and that's what the Fed has to do. But anything that stimulates more spending is bad for inflation. Anything that lowers spending is good for inflation, for the most part. It's not a blanket term, but kind of. All right, so yeah, here's PA and W. Again, I can't really buy it yet. I'll probably buy. These are some of my favorite trades. It has to be a small share size, though. All right, so we got over 200 people here. It's not even 7 o'clock yet. Dixie and TNX shape the market. Well, the dollar index is important, of course. TNX is what? Bonds? 10-year treasury bonds. 10-year yields. I mean, I don't know. Right now, 10-year interest rates are at 4.27%, 4.275%. These are typically move inversely to markets, right? So market goes up, bonds typically go down, and vice versa. It has to do with like liquidity injections, and they're also competitive with each other. The more people that buy stocks, the less people buy bonds, and vice versa. As well as like the price of bonds change over time because of yields and all this super nuanced stuff. I'm in Exxon right now, so I'm assuming that's not doing that great this morning. No, it is. I'm up in Exxon, and so I'm green in it, but Fed minutes expectations. I'm not sure. We got the Fed minutes report, and then we got Nvidia earnings later. And we do have some Fed speakers today. Can you somehow find guidance expectations for Nvidia? Let me see. All right, London off and closed. Nat gas. What's your opinion on PA and W market overreaction? A little bit. I think it's a tad overreaction. Again, that's just me personally, though. I'm not sure. I tend to like these. Again, I typically like taking low risk trades like this. Now, the other nuance, though, is that the market's down. I'm trying to see what percentage this is down, just so I can get a good gauge on it. So it's down from 370s down to 280s. I can already tell it's down roughly 25%, just looking at the numbers in my head, roughly 25% drop in this, but from 370 down to 280, roughly 25%, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 24.32%. I usually have pretty good math in my head, but that's a pretty easy one. If it's 400 and it decreases by 100, that's 25% drop. So yeah, roughly 25% drop overnight. I don't know. It's a tough one. Like, again, I tend to be a dip buyer. I'll go ahead and buy 5 shares of this. Very small. All right, so we're in 5 shares at roughly 282.99. 5 shares, though, very small. It just has a huge range. I'm trying to look at what the range is before today, and it's not the craziest range, but it's still very large. For a company, moving. It looks like it moves $10 to $20 a day in share price. So not a low mover, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. I'm assuming you mean Nvidia earnings. And again, Nvidia has potential. Honestly, dude, I slammed my finger in my door yesterday. Whew, dude, my finger is like jacked up, dude. If you look at it, it's like super screwed up. Look how swollen it is. Man, I don't know. Terrible design for a door, man. All right. Whew. Look at Nvidia though, man. Nvidia's gone crazy, earnings wise. So here is Nvidia's EPS graph. They have had a crazy couple quarters here. And if we look at Nvidia this evening, right? If we look at Nvidia this evening, they're expecting 455. So they're expecting a pretty big jump up for this as well. Like 455 is what their expectation is here. Where's my little thing? There it is. 455. So they are expecting way up here. They're expecting like this. Like, sorry for the crooked drawing, but they're expecting that. Basically, that's a crazy big gain. They're expecting. So here's 3. This is where 4 would be. 450 would be right around here. So they are expecting this. That's a pretty big gain here in EPS. So margin-wise, like people are always saying, oh, AI doesn't really benefit anything, and we don't really know about AI or whatever it is. But margin-wise, AI has massively influenced Nvidia in a positive way. Just had great influence over Nvidia. That's one of the reasons they're up so much. Now, the question is, what do they do for revenue? Now, $20.24 billion is what is expected for revenue. Let's take a look at a revenue graph here. And their revenue has massively benefited from all this stuff too. Now their revenue is still expected to bump up some, but it's not as much. So here's 15, 20. Their last one was 18.12. This one they're expecting 20. So this one they're expecting an increase in revenue as well. So they're expecting this to bump up to right around here. or so, right around there. So they are expecting a jump up in revenue as well for Nvidia. We'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting day for sure. They're now dipping down to 680s. But yeah, it'll be an interesting time. Again, people always say, oh, well, AI hasn't really helped them that much. I disagree. I think AI has massively benefited Nvidia and other companies like it. Obviously, if you look at AMD, you look at Nvidia, they've just done really, really well. Nvidia earnings are after the closing bell today at 4 p.m. Right around the closing bell at 4 p.m. I don't understand those graphics. What do you not understand? It's pretty simple here. Okay, so let me break this down. All right, so for all the, I don't know if you're being trolly or sarcastic, but I'll help regardless, Freddie. So companies have two major metrics that they look at, excluding guidance, right? Outside of guidance, they have two major metrics. The first one is EPS. It stands for earnings per share. It is margins, basically. It's how much the company makes margin-wise. Like, what are their margins per share? How much they earn per share is the margin. EPS is what it stands for. That's the first metric that we typically look at for earnings. The second one is revenue or sales, right? Revenue is kind of the ceiling. It's not margins. It's just how much money they're bringing in overall, right? And company with a higher ceiling for earnings, like with higher revenue, even if they're losing money, they still ultimately have more potential. Although there are some nuances with like a company with super high revenue that's also not profitable, means that margins might not be good for the business overall. And there's just a lot of, there's a lot to look into there. But overall, the market tends to react more to revenue versus EPS. Revenue is the potential of the company overall, like how much money they're bringing in. That's what this is. This is quarterly revenue, right? So last quarter, in October of 2023, so third quarter, or no, it might have been fourth quarter. Let me see. Companies don't always go with a typical calendar year. So yeah, this is going to be fourth quarter earnings today. Fourth quarter earnings is what's going to be today. But yeah, typically last quarter, they showed up at 18.12 billion for revenue. They're expecting an increase in that revenue. If we come in as expected, it's going to look like that, roughly. Right around that. Maybe a little bit lower than that. But it's going to look roughly like that. The next bar for the next quarter, if they come in as expected at 20.24 billion, right? So that's essentially what they're expecting. It doesn't mean they're going to hit it. They might come in high or low, but that's ultimately the number you want to pay attention to. Guidance, yeah, guidance is probably the most important thing that you look at. So again, and earnings can be really weird in that they can have great EPS, great sales, great revenue, but if guidance comes in disappointing, it doesn't matter. None of that other stuff matters because guidance is future projections. It's what the company thinks they're going to do looking into the future, right? And so guidance is one of the most important metrics, and you'll see when a company doesn't report guidance, when they avoid guidance, when they say, oh, we're not going to report guidance, stock tends to drop. Why? Because that's not a good sign for future projections. These are all historical looks, like what they did in the past for EPS, what they did in the past for revenue. Guidance is future projections. It's how the company thinks they're going to move into the future. Very important metric. Probably the most important metric. We do have a little bounce on Palo Alto. We're actually green on the stock now, so hey, you'll love to see it. Good or bad earnings, Nvidia might still tank. It could. We don't ever know. I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I hope it doesn't, typically, but who knows? Y'all hit that like button. Looking at our votes, we got, Nvidia beat or miss. 65% think they're going to beat. 35% think they're going to miss. People are weird. That's my thought for today. People are freaking weird, bro. Alright, guys, so we're in Palo Alto. Again, I have no idea what the company does in all complete honesty, but that's okay. What Nvidia? Hey, what's up, Beach? Weird, bro. I thought it was only me, dude. Hey, bro, people are strange, man. People are strange. The biggest mistake I think people make is that they think they're smarter than they are. And this is coming from the top 3 most dumb person ever in the world right now, okay? People tend to think they're smarter than they actually are, right? And, like, I see some people that try to manipulate others, and they're oblivious to how obvious it is. Like, they do so, and it's so obvious what they're doing, but, like, yet they still try, and then when you catch them, they get mad at you for it. It's just strange, man. People are weird, dude. Again, usually it's the people that are struggling the most in life, right? Like, usually misery loves company. They want to drag you down. You just got to say, nah, not today. You know, cheers to them. Earnings is at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. The actual call is going to be at 5 o'clock. But earnings are at 4. Here, let me mute this. I gotta mute the background music for a second. Hold on. All right, guys. Sorry, we're doing stuff in the background. Forgive me here, guys. Forgive me. So give me a second, guys. We'll be right back. No audio. I know I muted myself. It was intentional. Which I can subscribe again. You just said some real ish. Also appreciate the live stream. Hey, thank you. Hey, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you, sir. X Green, what's up, dude? All right. Let me make sure it's in the background. Yeah, okay, good. Y'all can still hear me. I'm going to get the music back. From Cyprus. I'm assuming you mean the Cyprus in the Middle East. Top of the morning. What's up, Sugar Ray? Hey, good morning, brother. Is Walmart splitting 3-to-1 effective February 26th? I don't know. Are they? Where's my Discord at, bro? I'm moving space. Good news is the semi-annual monetary policy report to Congress is next month on the 7th. With Big Papa Jerome Powell, JP, Big Papa. He's coming out. We'll see if he says anything good. That's, to put it into perspective, every 6 months, roughly. It's twice a year. It doesn't have to be 6 months, but every little bit, Big Papa Jerome Powell comes out and does the semi-annual monetary policy report to Congress. So he testifies in front of both the House and the Senate on different days. I live stream it all. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. All right, so here, hold on, guys. All right, sorry. There was apparently that will cause some damage. The long end bank funding expires March 24th. $4.3 billion float. So is the thing confirmed? Is the split confirmed, Pawn? Lower cost per share, but make it easier for people to invest too. Yeah. I'm in Walmart as well. Again, I'm also in Palo Alto. We're green. I'll take it. Green is good, I guess. Where's Tesla? Oh, there's Tesla. Is Tesla up or down? I'm in Tesla right now. Okay. Tesla is down. Good thing we took profit. I'm still in it, but I'm also in Palantir still. Bitcoin bouncing up over 51s. What do you guys think is going to happen here? Today's going to be a volatile day. It really is. They really do need to ban cameras at gyms, dude. They need to ban cameras at gyms. I'm for it, bro. I'm for it, dude. People are out of control at gyms. They're out of control. Like, listen. I'm talking about for everybody. Like, ban cameras for everybody at gyms, all right? Like, ban cameras, so you got big, like, male influencers sitting there all like, whoo, like, you're blocking my camera, bro. They're, like, juiced to the gills. They're angry at everybody. Like, stop them. Okay, I'm for stopping them, but also stop the other e-girls from doing it, too. Like, I'm for stopping all of it. Like, just ban, like, I would sign up today at a gym that had no cameras, right? Like, I don't want to be filmed at the gym, bro. You know, people are going to be critiquing my form and stuff. Like, I don't want that. Wouldn't the Fed minutes be even more critical? In what regard? We paused last time. So I think, again, if you look at what Powell said during the last interview, during the last FOMC meeting, Powell said that we're not out the woods. We are not technically in a soft landing period guaranteed yet, that we could certainly hit a recession this year, that the Fed is not out the woods, and then they might have to remain hawkish for longer periods of time. And then after that FOMC meeting, we had two inflation reports, PPI and CPI, drop last week, both coming in higher than expected, signaling worse inflation problems, potentially a more hawkish Fed, and longer sustained pauses in interest rates. No cut anytime soon, in my opinion, on the horizon. Maybe they shock people and cut in March. I don't think so. No, I think it's almost certain that we're not going to cut rates next month, at least. We're probably not going to cut rates until June plus, if it's going to be even then. So let me know when you guys think in the chat we're going to start cutting rates. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. What's a gym? I don't know, bro. What is a gym? Shout out to Jeff Bezos, worth $10 billion and drove a Honda Accord. Bro, Jeff Bezos, like, one thing that you see here, you see this a lot, all right? Jeff Bezos used to look like the nerdiest dude in the world. The nerdiest guy ever. He looked like the nerdiest guy ever. Now he looks like a Bond villain. You know, Mark Zuckerberg, still arguably nerdy looking, but used to be even nerdier looking than that. Now he's all about MMA. You saw him at the Volkanovski. He walked in with Volkanovski. I'm not even mad at him. As somebody that loves MMA and trains jiu-jitsu as well, I'm all for it. Mark would probably beat me up, you know. Now Bezos is all swole. He's TRTing it up. I can't even get mad, I guess. But I can't help but look at the huge polarizing difference between how they were 20 years ago and what they look like now. I guess money will do that to you, you know. I think what happens is, like, they don't want to feel taken advantage of. And so they would like to be somewhat, I don't know. Man, what is this? The internet shows you some crazy stuff. Would the Fed minutes be more critical than Nvidia results? I don't think so. I don't think even, no matter what, the Fed's minutes is just a recap of the last FOMC meeting. You know, so I don't think it's going to be super critical. It might be. I don't think it. Typically, lately, the Fed has sustained pause rate hikes and rate decisions, and so I don't think it's going to be. I think Nvidia numbers and outcomes and earnings are going to be much more volatile and impactful versus the Fed minutes report. I think they're both big, but I think Nvidia earnings are going to move markets more, most likely. Maybe not. I don't know. Dude, when is Soar coming out? I'm ready for it. All right, where are bonds at right now? I see bonds are slightly down with markets, but they're starting to move up a little bit. Again, we're in Palo Alto. We bought the dip. We're green. That's good. Markets are mostly down today, but not that down. Michael Saylor is trending on Twitter. Yeah, Fed Minutes is at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to stream that as live. We're going to stream the full Fed Minutes report as well as we're going to stream the full Fed Minutes report and then pivot over to Nvidia earnings afterwards. So we're going to stream both of them. Nvidia is after 4 p.m. The Fed Minutes report is at 2 p.m. Both Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys, what do you guys think? Hit that like button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate the love. Thanks so much. What do you think about Rivian? I think Rivian's really interesting as well. It's backed by Amazon to a certain extent, and they release earnings today as well. I don't trust it long term. I don't know enough about it, and I think it's too new, too up and coming, and too small in terms of production numbers for me to potentially bet on with super good confidence. Although I do think it's higher risk, higher reward. I think if it succeeds, it can succeed massively. If it fails, it can fail massively as well. Nvidia will be, but it will not be enough, sadly, I believe. Yeah, I'm not sure here. We'll see. All right, so for investigation into I'm looking at the crypto, man. Is the crypto market going to heat up more? I'm delving into all this stuff. We are in Palo Alto. We're up a whopping $4, $3.50. You love to see it. Does Walmart stock split be bullish? Well, I mean, what are they splitting? You said it's a 3-to-1 split. Walmart currently at almost 170s. I'm in Walmart right now. You love to see it. It looks great. Hit 181s at the opening bell yesterday, too. They reported earnings yesterday morning. I should have watched it, but I'm probably just going to sit on Walmart. I'll probably hold it longer term, I guess. Yeah, dude, I'm ready for summer a lot, dude. I went out into the sun yesterday, and it felt so good, like seeing the trees and the sun. It's been really doomy and like really it's been really overcast and rainy and no sun. It sucks. What did Parker? How did Parker do? Talbot? Is it Talbot? Talk a P? There it is. There he is. How did he do yesterday? See, that's what I'm missing in my life is some high stakes poker tournaments, dude. That's really what I'm missing. All right. Let's see. Would you gamble your house on poker? Of course not. Like, of course not. You know, like poker is a game of skill to a certain extent. There's variance, of course, but it's not like the other casino games, man. It's not like slots. Slots are the biggest sucker bet you could ever get into. Slots are just programmed to siphon money from you. Poker, the house doesn't care whether you win or lose, right? They're gonna make money regardless, and so it's one of the only beatable casino games. But of course, I'm not gonna gamble my house on it. It's too polarized. Everybody that plays poker is not some degenerate gambler, and everybody that trades the stock market is not some prodigy genius. You know what I mean? It's super nuanced, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. It's not super polarized. It doesn't have to be super polarized one way or the other. I mean, well, when I mean high stakes, I just mean $200, $300, $400 tournaments. Couple $100 games. In all honesty, those never mind. Those are not going to hurt my bank account that much if I could play some tournaments like that. I'm in Texas, so it's illegal, Oh, no, you're good. It's bad. It's all good, bro. Poker got me 25 ticket for change to enter 115 tournament. Didn't get in. Lost ace king to ace 3 all in. Yeah, it happens. We are all genius stock gurus in here. Listen, I know. I understand. Listen. Top 3 most genius stock gurus in the world right now. Speaking here, of course, that's what we are. Apple fans are starting to return their Vision Pros, according to The Verge. Comfort, headache, eye strain are among the top reasons people say they're returning their Vision Pro headsets. The price of success in trading is psychological discomfort. I don't know. I think it depends. Like, trading's difficult. But if you're trading small like you should be, relative to your net worth, then it shouldn't be super emotional. Like, your job is to limit emotion the best you can in trading, and that takes time. All right, so Meta insiders apparently people are saying they're selling big. Mark Zuckerberg and 6 other Meta insiders have sold a combined $80 million in stock today, including their COO, CFO, CTO, CLO, and president. Nearly $1 billion in insider sales over the past month. Mark Zuckerberg sold almost 35,000 of Class A stock for about $16 million. But see, that's honestly a pretty small, like. Okay, you have to think about what these executives inside the company are doing. Like, Mark owns so many shares that when you get these massive run-ups, Mark's net worth is tied to what he owns, right, in shares. It's not liquid. It's not like Mark Zuckerberg might be worth $40 billion, but it's not like he has $40 billion liquid, right? The only way he gets liquid money is by selling his ownership stake, which he's gonna slowly do over time. That's what most CEOs do. They slowly take out money. Same thing with like Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, right? But it's not liquid. If he wants liquid money, he's got to sell some shares. He's got to sell stake, and he can always buy it back at a more opportune time. And that's what these CEOs typically try to do, is that they'll buy it. They'll try to sell at the top, buy on pullbacks. Sell at the top, buy on pullbacks. That way they retain their ownership stake, but they're also getting liquid injections of cash that they need to live their life. I mean, everybody knows, especially with big public figures like this, everybody kind of knows, like, if Mark Zuckerberg comes in at my bank and wants to get a loan out, I'm going to give him the loan. He's worth it, but still, it still doesn't take away the fact that a lot of it's not liquid. Walmart made a deal to acquire Vizio, announced a few hours ago. $7:30, the front runners come out to beat the rush. Maybe. Again, I'm in PA and W. Looks like I'm down on this one now. That's okay. We're pretty much flat on the day, back and forth. Red, green, green, red. Later, Mike. Yeah, it's not every year. For me, it's every day, Joe. Like, every day I hear it's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. This FOMC meeting is the end of the world. This economic report is the end of the world. This one aspect of it is the end of the world. Again, it tends to, like, dilute it for me. And that's what a lot of... Okay. The reason you hear so many people predicting market crashes, right? Like, I'm going to explain the psychology. I see it directly. Like, I see this every day. Okay, the reason is because a lot of the time day traders and investors in trading don't last very long, right? So they'll enter the market, they'll lose a bunch of money, and then they'll leave, right? So a lot of the people that we see regularly, no offense to you all, right? I'm not talking about anybody specific, but a lot of the people we see regularly are new. They don't have that much experience. Some of them do, right? Some of you guys have lots of experience, but a lot of you guys don't. Y'all are brand new. And so y'all don't understand the real dynamic and nuances of the market. What I mean by that is, like, if you're new and you haven't had that much experience trading and investing, right? And you enter the market and you see the market do a big push like this, you might think, hey, well, what goes up has to come down, right? You might see a lot of big time influencers and everybody pushing a market crash is going to happen. Doom and gloom is here. A market crash, the sky's going to fall, basically. And if you're not resilient to that, you might say, yeah, the market's going to crash. The sky's going to fall. We're going to see a next big market crash. And then time goes on and it doesn't happen, right? And the reason experienced people usually can zoom out and be more objective is because they've seen instances of this where people have come in, told everybody the market was about to have some parabolic fall from grace and sky was going to fall and the market was going to crash. They've seen people come in, say that, and then they've seen it not happen. You know, and it certainly does not happen a majority of the time when people say it. Most of the time people say it and it doesn't happen. And so I guess people with a lot of experience can recognize how rare that event is. Whereas new people that are just now kind of entering markets, that are just now getting started in trading, and maybe they watch a couple videos and maybe they understand a little bit, they don't really understand how rare moments like that are. It's not easy to predict. Again, a market crash might happen once every 10 years, you know, on average, right? Once every 10 years. And so predicting exactly when or where that stock market crash or that market crash is going to happen is very difficult. It's not something that happens all the time. And the amount of people that predict it are people wildly over predict it, I guess is the easiest way to put it. Maybe it's confirmation bias. Maybe it's they missed out on opportunities on the upside. Maybe they watch the news a lot, and the news's job is to get views and clicks, right? So the news is telling you the sky's going to fall, you know, whichever political party is in power, you know, the other side, regardless of either side. Again, I'm neutral politically, right? Like I don't care about politics like that. But whichever side's in power, the other side's job is to tell you how bad the world is, and when that side is in power. You know, and so they're going to say the skies are going to fall too. And again, you just got to be resilient to all of that stuff and look at the numbers, look at the history, look at what the market's going to do, or look at what the market has done historically. I think that's the only way to really get past it. And I'm not saying the market's not going to crash. Of course, it will eventually crash. It's an inevitability. The market's going to crash eventually. It just doesn't have to happen today. It doesn't have to happen, regardless of how much anything's moved up or down, regardless of any of that stuff. It just doesn't have to happen today. And I think when you start looking at it more in terms of, instead of being skeptical of markets, being skeptical of market crash predictors, that's when you kind of get a little bit more balanced with it, I think. But maybe I'm just a bull. I don't know. No, typically the dollar will move up if the market crashes and vice versa, Milton. To be honest, your channel is the best channel to learn about stock markets. Thank you. Hey, thanks so much. Nvidia, NG is moving up. I make more shorting the VIX volatility indexes. Yeah, they can be powerful to trade. It just depends on if you do it right. It takes time. All right, so we got some Fed speakers today. We got the FOMC Minutes report. We got Nvidia earnings. Yeah, so typically the dollar index is going to move inversely to markets in general. So it just depends on what happens. If I look at, like, okay, here's a good example. Here's the SPY. Here's the S&P 500, basically on the left side. It's the ETF about it, around the futures, S&P 500 futures, but it's virtually the same thing. That's the S&P 500 ETF on the left, and then here's the dollar index on the right side. So usually, and it's not always, but typically they move inversely to each other. And so again, you can kind of see on the left side with the S&P 500 ETF, it's below the previous closing price, so it's red. This is the red to green level. This light blue line right here is the red to green level. It's below that level, so it's technically red on the day. You know, it's down on the day versus the dollar index, which you can see again. Here's the previous closing price, and it is above that level, so it's inverse to this, right? So this is inverse to this, and the reason for that, there's a lot of reasons, but typically, the more people that are sitting on cash, or the more cash is appreciating, the less likely people are to invest, and the less cash is appreciating, the more people are likely to invest to hedge against that. You know, that's one of the reasons. There's a lot of reasons behind it, but as of all, Nvidia earnings are after 4 p.m. Have you seen what Burke is doing lately? What are they doing, Martin? Yeah, I see Burke. It's at 406 for Class B shares. They've been doing really well. I mean, they were at 389. Super good year. You know, they're up like 33% on the year. More than that, really. Like 35%. Yeah, UVXY. Yeah, I remember TVIX and UVXY. TVIX isn't even around anymore. Volatility ETFs. All right, guys. So, freaking Brett Favre. Huh? All right, so bonds move it up a little bit. The 10-year yield is at 4.27%. 4.27%. Do you think AI will create more jobs than it displaces in the next decade? Yeah, so stock market is trending. Why don't you talk about the Nasdaq? Curious, I've tuned in many times. You're first informative analyst in the morning, but I go elsewhere because I'm interested in Nasdaq info. Well, I mean, you got to stick around, Liz. We mostly trade the Nasdaq after 8 o'clock in the morning or after 9 a.m. in the morning. So we mostly trade the Nasdaq. You got to understand the SPY, the Q, the Nasdaq. It's all going to be virtually the same price action. Like, look, I'm going to put 4 different charts up. All right, and this is what I think a lot of people don't understand about markets is that the Q, what the Q is it's a symbol based around the NASDAQ ETF, right? So I'm going to put this up. I'm going to put the NASDAQ right next to it. You'll notice this is the same price action, brother. This is the same price action. So when you see the QQQ in this, it's the same thing, right? Like, look at this. Big bounce, dip, big bounce, dip. Same price action. Break of lows, break of lows. Same thing with the SPY and the E-mini, right? Here's the SPY. They're all going to look virtually identical. So there's the SPY, and then here's the E-mini futures contract, right? So they're all basically the same thing. We're just looking at broad markets right now because you got to understand the NASDAQ 100, the NQ, is what moves with stock market news. So this is all moving with each other. Look, dip, consolidation, bounce, dip, dip, consolidation, bounce, dip. It's the same price action. The E-mini has a little bit more liquidity than the actual S&P, but it's the same thing essentially. You just got to look. You got to understand. Like, we mostly trade the NASDAQ after the opening bell. So if you want to see us trade it, we'll trade it at the open. All right, so yeah, here's 4 main symbols. We're going to get ready to trade, but we're just kind of buying up stocks right now. What's up, Jarrett? What's up, Joe? Nasdaq. Crazy 22 AI accounted for 1.9% of Nvidia sales. AMD had a cap growth of $22 billion in the entire fiscal year of 22. This quarter estimates are 80% of profit was from AI from T100 and $20 billion just this earnings call. Yeah, I mean, AI is really that big thing. And again, I understand. Again, I'm going to preface this with like, look, I understand if you don't trust AI, bro. Like, I really understand if you don't trust it. I understand, dude, my finger is smashed, bro. We have this, like, I can't explain it. We have this thing on my front door that it's the worst design ever. When you open it, like, my fingers got smashed. I'm not going to be able to do jujitsu for like a week. Like, this finger, I thought it was broken. You can see how dark the finger is. Like, look how messed up that finger is. Anyways, back to what I was really originally saying. I understand it if you don't trust AI. I really do. I understand it. People fear technology growth. I get it. It's happened for years. People feared the automobile when carriages were a big thing. People feared computers when they first came out, and discounted computers. The list goes on and on. People fear technology is what ultimately is the truth, right? And I think as you get older and older, right, I think older people tend to fear it more because they're so set in they're more so set in their ways. They're used to things. I think the end point is that people fear technology. Again, I think they feared the internet when it came out. People never thought in a million years that Jeff Bezos and Amazon.com would work. And the argument against Amazon.com was that nobody is going to want to put their information online. Nobody is going to want to put their trust in the internet, right? That was a reality back in the 90s. Nobody thought it would succeed. And so people fear technology. Right? They fear change is what they really fear. And this is true for AI. People fear AI heavily right now. It's one of the most polarizing subjects in markets is AI. The problem is that AI is real and it genuinely changes the game for technology growth. Not just could potentially do it. Already we're seeing massive increases in sales from Nvidia. We're seeing massive increases in EPS for Nvidia. Revenue skyrocketed over the last 3 quarters since AI became a big thing. And I think AI fundamentally changes querying. If you don't know what that is, like to query something is to search and identify something. It's a programming jargon, I guess, is to query something. Programming and AI change that completely. I can get instant data very, very quickly. And the internet revolves around data. You know, our data, other people's data. The internet revolves around it. AI is going to change how we access that. It's going to change production, and it already is changing production. Like, AI is making it much more easy to produce things. Programmers are already using it in a really extensive way. And I think overall it's just going to fundamentally change business. And I think it has already. You know, a few years ago, people were joking, saying AI was just a buzzword. It wasn't a big thing. And I think some people are just unlikely to admit they're wrong. I think AI has seen crazy growth over the past few years. The question is whether that's going to slow down or not, whether that type of growth is sustainable. And I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure. I think the obvious answer for AI and what the AI might look into the future, I think one of the reasons you still might want to bet on AI, and again, I'm not telling you should, I really have no idea, okay? I'm going to preface what I'm about to say with I have no idea. I think one of the obvious paths for AI is full self-driving, autonomous driving. I think we already kind of have it, but I think one of the big technology changes we're going to see over the next 10 to 15 years is we're going to see cars starting to drive themselves. Right? I think it's an inevitable part of our future. Eventually, cars are going to drive themselves. I think people know this in tech. They recognize this in tech, that cars are going to drive themselves. Right? I think Tesla and other automobiles already have FSD down to where it's pretty efficient. It's not perfect, and it needs to be perfect. But they already have it down to where you could probably get it done with no harm out there in the world. And so I think what we're going to see is AI is going to get bigger and bigger, and I think it's going to start to merge with FSD and full self-driving. And again, if Tesla is at the forefront of that, I think it's a great bull argument for Tesla stock, because I think sometime over the next few years, full self-driving is going to be a thing. And I think that transition is going to happen. That's going to make AI much bigger, and I think that's going to make whoever's in the forefront of that, whether it's Tesla or another vehicle creator, I think that's going to be big. Because I think that's an inevitable thing. I think if cars can already park themselves, they can already drive themselves to a certain extent. I think what's going to happen is people are going to see people who have full self-driving. They're going to see people be able to do that, and then they're going to want to do it as well. It's going to snowball from there. The hard part is regulation-wise. Like, are they going to be able to regulate that type of thing? And how easy does that regulation come is the big question mark for it. You know, how easy is it going to be to regulate that type of thing? I think I think they're going to be hesitant to, but I do think it's the future. It just depends on when it happens. When older people have robotics to help assist at home. Oh, for sure. That's one of the obvious future arguments for it as well. I'm more worried about human acceptance of AI. Yeah, I think people fear AI, and it's understandable. Like, I grew up on Terminator movies, like Terminator movies, like all of it. There's a lot of science fiction related to AI. And so I think it really is something where it's natural for people to fear it. I think with the movies that we've seen growing up with Skynet and all that stuff, I think it's normal to fear it. I think we've been conditioned to fear it to a certain extent over the last 25, 30, 40 years of sci-fi movies. But I think it really is getting to a point where sentience is not what you really have to worry about. What you really have to worry about is not sentience. It's more so jobs and what that means for jobs. And again, that's certainly an arguable topic. Yeah, Ex Machina. Yeah, great movie. Scary movie, but great movie. And that came out a little bit early. Yeah, I think it's going to transition to planes and flying and a lot of stuff. So, I don't think AI is one of those internet for all type moments. It's more like an expensive pet rock in the form of a glorified search result. Yeah, but I mean, that's just kind of repeating what somebody else said. No offense to you. I'm not sure if you're the same person that said it yesterday or in another account or what it is. But I think... maybe not, but I think it's a very self-evident thing that it's more than just a search result. Again, I'm coming from a programming perspective, right? Coming from a programming perspective, the way AI allows you to get data quickly, it's going to change writing. It's going to change programming, certainly. I mean, I think that's a very obvious thing. If anybody is a programmer here, you know that AI is going to fundamentally change how it's done. It's going to change employment for programmers. Like, if you're a business, you might not necessarily need in the future to hire as many programmers as you previously had. Instead, you might be able to hire like an AI prompt engineer that knows how to program and knows how to prompt AI to create code, and then maybe hire somebody else to supervise that or whatever that looks like. I think that is something that's very clear in terms of production. Production is different now. For tech, and I think that's going to cause an exponential growth in production as well. But again, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Bao, you sound hella emotional, brother. Hella emotional. Again, I mean, listen. This drop that you're saying, this crazy drop looks like this. You know, I mean, we're just not there yet. Maybe, you know, maybe we drop. Maybe we crash. I think Nvidia earnings are going to be an influence over it for sure. And again, I tend to be pretty bearish right now. I told everybody yesterday, I'm not really buying up anything right now. And I did liquidate a lot of positions over the last couple weeks. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have some crazy parabolic drop, you know. It just doesn't necessarily mean that. I think that's it. Maybe it happens, but I also think that I'm not in a position where I want to buy up anything really right now, except for like maybe a couple hand-picked stocks. But it doesn't also mean that we're gonna have some crazy parabolic drop, you know. I could agree a correction maybe. Bostic speaks at 8 a.m. He's always bullish. Maybe. Do you think AI will numb human intuitive creation and ingenuity? Maybe to a certain extent it might, but I also think on the other side of that, it's gonna allow humans to learn faster. You know, it's gonna allow humans to learn faster. You know. It's going to allow us to take in more data faster. Juiced Nvidia call options are. ChatGPT can't stop making gibberish. Let me see. I have ChatGPT. Let me look at it. Let me ask it. Are you making gibberish right now? No, I'm not making gibberish. I'm here to assist you with any questions or topics you'd like to discuss. How can I help you today? Someone told me you were putting out nonsense in a glitch. Tell me the truth. Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT is pretty impressive. Nvidia gonna crash? Maybe. Yeah, but I think instead of prognostic says, I don't fear tech. I see flaws that destroy people's credibility or kills them. AI has made fools of lawyers, journalists, and drivers, to name a few. Good for programming, sure. Yeah, I mean, look. A journalism degree is a nonsense degree. I'm not trying to insult journalists out there. But unless you want to be in front of a camera and like an actual journalist getting interviewed, which is not most people, do not get a journalism degree. You know, maybe writers. Writing, it's one of those things where you're always going to need like fiction writers. Like you're always going to need fiction writers and that type of creativity. And I don't think that's something that we're going to see replaced by AI, but technical writing is certainly going to get replaced by AI. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that instead of looking at it like it's replacing those things, look at it as kind of a component of those things now. Look at it as an aid to those things. So as lawyers, as an example, we're always going to need attorneys. We're always going to need human representatives. You're not going to be able to have AI represent you in any significant way. You know, you just don't need that. Maybe you can ask it law questions, but it's not going to be precise in that way, right? And so now lawyers might use it as kind of an added benefit to them, but it's not going to replace them. I think that's sensationalism. I think you're always going to need lawyers. You're always going to need doctors. You're always going to need human representatives, because outside of AI, you need those type of people to make decisions for you, if that makes sense. Like, you need what's the word? You need advocates for yourself in that way. And so AI might benefit them, I think, more so than replace them. I think it's going to help them query things more in an easier way than previously they had to do. So it's the 21st. Yeah, so we do have Bostic speaking today. Bowman speaks at 1 o'clock. Let me see. I mean, Bostic is just speaking welcoming remarks. So, you know, I'm probably not going to stream that. You know. We never said we were going to stream it. I have invested in Bitcoin. I have a journalism degree and I work at Bloomberg. We only hire people with journalism degrees in our apartment. I guess it depends on where you want to work. 100%, maybe. Maybe I'm using too much of a blanket statement. And it's all good, brother. It's all good, man. You know. I guess my point is, like, I can't help but look around, right? Like, I can't help but look around and notice that most of the people that I see that are successful they have doctors, they have medical degrees, law degrees, and that's about it, right? Like, I know a lot of people that have spent their whole life going to school and now they struggle to get jobs. And so I think there's a lot of useless degrees out there. I think get a STEM degree. You know, but like, I think a lot of people are getting basic business degrees, like bachelors in business, bachelors of marketing, bachelors of journalism, and I think they are struggling to find work. And I think it's making them bitter and a lot of stuff, because they say people like me who are degreeless make more money than they do, right? Because instead of getting a degree, I spent time building other things. And I think you see the people that are, I think that's a nuance of the workplace right now that you see a lot, that people, it's hard to explain. And again, you're certainly going to have an easier time finding a job if you want to work corporate life. You're going to have an easier time finding a job with a degree, without question. I just think that a lot of people are struggling to find good jobs, and I think inflation is making it worse, where people used to, I think people are frustrated, I guess is the easiest way to put it right now, because of inflation in the labor market, you know. Yeah, all good, Folded. No, I don't really stream Bostic. Bostic is not going to move the market typically in any extended way, especially opening remarks are usually not going to be, you know. Yeah, somebody saying hook us up with Bloomberg Terminal. Hey, give me that $30K a month discount, or $30K a year discount, brother. One upside with getting a degree and working at a normal workplace is the social aspect and normal routines. I don't know if that's really a big benefit of going. I mean, going to work, you meet people and see things, and that's great. But you can go to a gym and meet people and make that a normal part of your routine. I go to jiu-jitsu multiple times a week and meet people and make that a normal part of routine. I guess it depends on whether you're single or not and whether you want to meet like a spouse. Not going to meet a spouse at jiu-jitsu necessarily. but you go to the gym and do the same thing. Make that a part of your routine. There's other ways to do it. I think it's frustrating for a lot of people because they went to school, they worked hard, they went to college, and now they're trying to find work, and the jobs that they can get right now only pay 50, 60K a year, and historically that was a great salary, like 50, 60K. That was great money. Nowadays not so much. Nowadays it's like it'll get you by, but you're certainly not gonna be the most content you could ever be. And I think that's a nuance of things that we're seeing a lot. And again, I know the standard is like go to college, and I still think if you're going to go to a college for STEM degrees, great. Or if you have a specific plan for your business degree, great. Like get your business degree if you need it, sure. Like if you have a family company you want to work for, and like that's a sensible way to get that done or whatever. But for those of us that don't, I don't know. I think it depends on what your degree is. And I think a lot of people are getting communication degrees, journalism degrees, business degrees, bachelor's in business. If you're going to get a business degree, get your MBA. Getting your bachelor's of business. It's a degree. It'll get you a job over somebody that doesn't have a degree. But it's still going to be slim pickings, I guess, if that makes sense. College degree will give you a possibility to make more money with your brain rather than your arms and back. I mean, it can. I'll tell you this, though. You can make money with your brain outside of that as well. It depends on how entrepreneurial you are, I didn't graduate college, and I make more money than most of the people I know that went to school and got degrees. And I'm certainly not doing manual labor as a software developer and talking about the stock market every day. And so I think it depends. And again, I think my situation is very nuanced. I mean, it's certainly not something that a lot of people are going to be able to do. Rivian has earnings today. Yeah, so again, Rivian. I'm torn on Rivian. The production numbers aren't great, but it does have Amazon backing, or at least it has historically. And I think it's number 2 outside of Tesla, and maybe NIO. Maybe NIO's the other option, although NIO's more of a foreign brand. Rivian is okay, but I think I don't think it's a guarantee, success by any means. You're probably 5% of the bunch. Maybe. I think it depends on your plan. If you want to work corporate life, sure, get a degree. A lot of people are going to have a better time getting trades, though. Like an electrician makes a lot of money, easier to find jobs. Welders make a lot of money, easier to find jobs. I don't necessarily think I would call them super manual labor either. I think maybe welding, but electrician certainly not. I think it depends. It depends on what your plan is. Again, getting a business degree is great, but if you want to start your own business, maybe in some situations it would make sense to get a degree, but in other situations it makes sense to just start the business and learn from experience. I'm sure I have a lot of bias there as well, so, Why buy Rivian when I can get Canoo for 13 cents? Because the likelihood that Canoo is going to succeed is very, very low. Nobody's ever heard of Canoo. Like, imagine, again, the thought experiment for EV that I always do is imagine you've never traded stocks before and you've never bought a stock, especially an EV stock, right? Now, imagine you're in the market to buy an EV. Are you going to buy a Canoo EV? Of course not. Are you going to buy a Polestar? Of course not. Are you going to buy a Mullen? Of course not. You can try to argue you would. Nobody's going to, right? Like, a lot of these brands are unheard of outside of stocks. And so that's the bare argument for them, is they don't have the consumer base, the customer base they need to succeed long term. And it's going to be very hard for them to get noticed. That's the problem with a lot of these brands. Sure, stock traders might eat it up because if you promise big returns, stock traders will eat whatever it is. But that's going to be hard to succeed long term. You know, Rivian has a much more bullish argument, even though because you see what I see is I see Rivian trucks driving around. I see Rivian vehicles already being produced. I see people driving them in my areas. And so much more bull case for Rivian, of course. It's got a much larger chance of succeeding long term. It's like walking into Foot Locker and asking for Skechers. Yeah. Is Nvidia expectations too high? I don't know. They only know that. I mean, usually these are the banks putting out these expectations. They typically know their stuff. Like, they typically know what they're talking about, you know. Boeing 4-hour chart, bearish pendant. I mean, maybe. Sometimes technical patterns are hard to find. What I see on a Boeing, and I'm in Boeing right now. Remember, I bought Boeing not too long ago. You said a 4-hour chart? 4 hours. I'm assuming you mean this right here. Like this kind of like bearish flag. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, Daphne. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a bearish flag, bearish wedge, bearish pendant, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't always follow this, though. What it really looks like to me personally is choppiness. So I see choppiness. Like it looks like sideways activity. Now, maybe we're starting to get some angles here that we can break on the upside or downside or whatever it is. But I wouldn't bet everything on that. I think when zooming out longer term for these type of companies, it has to do a lot with fundamental health more than like longer term technical patterns. I'm not saying longer term technical patterns don't work. They both work, fundamentals and technicals, long term to a certain extent. I just tend to look at, the longer we zoom out, the more I look at fundamentals over technicals. I do look at extension though, like how much we're up or down. But yeah. Nvidia earnings are after the closing bell today. Yeah, I mean, I'm in Boeing right now, so I hope it goes up. I'm mostly flat. Small share size, though. We bought Palo Alto this morning. It doesn't look like it was a good move. I think I'm just going to sit on this one, though. I don't want to add any more to it, though, for sure. When are Rivian earnings? Rivian earnings are after the closing bell again today. So Rivian earnings are this evening. At 4:10 p.m. is when they're scheduled to drop. They're expecting a loss of $1.32 per share on $1.26 billion in revenue. Yeah, and so for EV companies, the problem is money, right? So here's Rivian's margins. If we're looking at Rivian's numbers, right? So here's their margins, and I can't really say they're getting any better. You know, I mean they've got better. When was this? They got better. Love you. Huh? Here. Alright, so no, I'm not going to stream all day. I'll probably stop the stream and then start it back up closer to the FOMC meeting. But yeah, if you look at Rivian numbers, right, Rivian has mostly been flat. They're not really producing any big gains or losses in terms of margins. Like margin-wise, they're not really the greatest looking right now. They're basically losing money every quarter. That's a problem. You know, again, I guess they're slightly getting better You know, they're definitely doing better from 2021, but they've basically been stagnant in terms of EPS. If we look at their revenue, let's see what their revenue looks like. So Rivian revenue, let's take a look at the other end of that. So again, EPS is margins. Their revenue is getting better. So their revenue is increasing. And I guess they're doing what a company is supposed to do, which is reinvesting it into their company. But yeah, I don't know. Their optimism, 1.337. They're expecting 1.26. So they're actually expecting to go down a little bit relative to this. They're expected to be about here. So we'll see what they end up doing. But yeah, Rivian, better revenue. EPS is staying about the same. Then we can look at their chart. Here's a yearly chart for Rivian. They're down on the year. Here's a weekly chart for Rivian. They're very weak. The problem with mid caps and up and coming companies, and again, something you always want to look at, guys, is you want to look at specifically how long a company has been around. If you don't, you can get caught buying crazy high valuations. Like, look, this thing IPO'd at like 180s. Ridiculously high, just ridiculously high. People realize very quickly. So again, if you're the easiest way to put it is that if you're buying IPOs, limit your risk. So you should never be going all in on IPOs because there's risk to that. Limit your risk, but also understand how long a company has been around, not just publicly, but in general, right? Rivian, very new company, it IPOing at 180 bucks. It had no business IPOing there. And you can see now it's at $15. And so this is why most EV brands are going to fail. Even Rivian, which is one of the stronger ones outside of Tesla, it didn't hold its value over the last couple years. Fisker, yeah, same thing with most of these. Most of these up-and-coming EV brands are going to fail outside of buyouts. Like, maybe they get bought out and it protects their company and saves their company, but a lot of the time they're not, you know. Dude, MGK has got the weirdest looking tattoo I've ever seen. What the heck? Did anybody see MGK's new tattoos, man? They're looking rough, bro. Yeah, I think it looks kind of cool. I don't know. I don't like the. It's kind of I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it. Of his new tattoos. And like, I'm a tattoo person. Like, I've got multiple tattoos. My wife does too. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. Yeah. So, anyways, NASDAQ, we're going to get ready to start trading here. We also still have about almost 600 people here live. So, hey, thank you for choosing to spend your morning with us. We are going to day trade some today. Interesting time in markets. Interesting time. Yeah, real estate's an interesting world right now. Do you think commercial real estate ever bounces back is the question. Will commercial real estate ever bounce back? I don't really know. Yeah, today's the FOMC Minutes report. Walmart stock split. I don't know. I guess it's a good move. It'll allow more people to afford Walmart. It will when they convert it. Yeah, a lot of like businesses are converting their real estate to residential. So what they're doing is they're buying unrestricted properties that you could do both real estate, or you could do both residential and commercial, which is what unrestricted means. It's not restricted to commercial or residential specifically, but you could do whatever there. And they're taking what was once commercial buildings, they're taking it and they're transitioning it into residential, and then they're leasing it out or doing whatever they got to do. Especially with commercial being so low. Charlie Munger with the greatest market potential quote ever. Charlie Munger had this quote: "There are only 3 ways a smart person can go broke: liquor, ladies, and leverage." Hey, rest in peace. You know, I know he's kind of a controversial subject here, but hey, yeah, so again, the interesting thing is that you had the National Association of Realtors lawsuit last year in November. You had the NAR lawsuit. Basically, one of the rules is that you're not able to have like the commission split doesn't have to be anything, right? You can't have a set commission rate in an area. Like, you can't say, hey, you got to do 3%, you got to do 5%, you got to do 6%. It has to be negotiable in real estate. The lawsuit, which was billions of dollars that the National Association of Realtors is going to have to pay out, basically, the lawsuit basically said that they colluded to lock in an average interest rate. And it'll be really interesting, too, because a lot of people think that interest rates or commission rate. So they said that they colluded to have a set commission rate, right? The problem with that, and what that might potentially mean for real estate agents into the future, is that commission rates might go down. They might be more competitive. People might start doing commission rates outside. Because, again, I'm a realtor, right? And I'm going to preface this with, this is not real estate advice. I have no idea what I'm talking about, right? I'm a real estate agent myself. And again, I never did this personally, but I know with a lot of contracts, the set commission rate is 3%. And if you don't do 3%, a lot of agents won't deal with you. They're not going to deal with you if you try to undercut that commission rate, right? It's very frowned upon too. That's what the lawsuit had to do with. And again, this was in November of last year. So Jim Cramer said Nvidia isn't near its peak. Oh no, that's a terrible, terrible sign. A horrible sign. Right, yeah, agents don't like it, man, for sure. They, again, 3% is kind of the set thing that they do it. Again, I'm not saying it's the set that you have to do it, but that's what the lawsuit had to do with. Yeah, I just think commercial's in trouble. I think commercial real estate's in trouble. I think that, yes, frowned upon by realtors and real estate agents, yes. I think commercial's in trouble because technology has evolved in the same way that we're talking about AI. We're talking about remote work as well. Commercial real estate has evolved, or remote work has evolved to a point where businesses realize in a lot of instances, maybe not all instances, I'm sure there's still some arguments for commercial, like non-remote work, but a lot of people have realized that, yeah, a lot of people have realized that now you don't need to pack warehouses full of people. And you're going to get the same margins, better margins in some areas where you just let them work remotely. Yeah, well, most buyer's agents don't have to do it here in Texas, at least. Like, buyer's agents don't have to worry about it. It's set by the sellers. All right, so real estate, retail. I get it. Do y'all think the chip market is extended? Nvidia reports earnings today. Nvidia is up 46% roughly year to date and 240% in 2023. The whole market depends on them beating expectations, and if not, the market will most likely drop. Again, Nvidia earnings have one of the biggest single influences over markets, specifically today. It's a really crazy day, in all honesty. There's a lot of craziness going through the market right now. It really is crazy. Again, Nvidia earnings they have the potential to have crazy influence over the broad markets. Any views on MicroStrategy? I think MicroStrategy has done incredibly well. They've done incredibly well. Yeah. All he did was DCA, right? If you want to know the power of dollar cost averaging, Michael Saylor, all he did was DCA into Bitcoin, and he is up billions of dollars now through that DCAing. If you don't know what DCAing is, it's dollar cost averaging. It's making periodic buys regardless of price in specific time intervals. And Michael Saylor did it with Bitcoin. He's up billions of dollars now. Nvidia moved its earnings play. I think it'll have a long wick to 750 down to 650 when earnings come out. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Nvidia currently at 680s right now. Let's take a look at it. So here's we're gonna put Nvidia up in the middle at 680s. Had a pretty big dip yesterday at the open. So yesterday at the opening bell, a massive drop. Massive drop. We'll see if it continues. I've drank all my coffee already. I'm going to go get some more coffee. Election years are typically pretty crazy. Usually they're bullish, but it does vary. It's never a given, like, for sure thing, of course. Like, it certainly varies. We got Tom Barkin doing a radio interview. It's a crazy day today, guys. It's a crazy day. It really is. It's not out the realms that Nvidia could run up to 20% or go down about 5% on the earnings. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia could go up or down much more than that, considering how much it's up. It could go down much more than 5%, Paulo, just in all honesty. Like, it could certainly drop more than 5%. You know, it really is something in which it could move a lot more than 5%. Like, let's put this into perspective. Let's look at percentages here. Okay, so Nvidia is currently at 680s right now, 680s, right? Say Nvidia drops down to 600. That's an 11% drop, right? Say it drops down to 620. That's an 8% drop. Say it drops down to 630. That is a 7.5% drop. 640, right? 640, I don't think is that far away. That's a 5.5% drop, right? So from 680 down to 640. 640 is not that far away. And with earnings like this, if it comes in super bad, this certainly could happen. You know, now it could also do big things on the upside, and Nvidia can certainly run from this as well. Like I said, it could obviously run big too. I just think you got to be careful, and you got to understand that, like, this could be big. It's something you want to pay attention to for sure. Also, guys, if you haven't already, check out my sponsor, Top Step. Top Step is a funded program in futures in which they give you a demo and they test your skill. If you could pass the test, they fund you. If you can't pass the test, you only lose what you pay for the combine. In the futures market, you can day trade essentially the SPY and what's called the E-mini, essentially the QQQ price action of what's called the NASDAQ. I'm going to put the NASDAQ up in the middle, and then I'm going to put the QQQ up so you can see it's virtually the same price action. Slightly different price, or big difference in price, but the same price action here. And so again, you can kind of see it's basically the exact same thing, right? If we zoom out here, it's basically the exact same thing. You know, big dip, consolidation, all that stuff, big dip, consolidation, all that stuff. Same price action here. I can day trade this middle side, which you can actually see has better liquidity. This is actually what the Q tracks, is this middle chart. So you, instead of trading the Q, you can actually trade what the Q tracks with no PDT rule. Day trading patterns are very similar to blue chip stocks and futures. I can buy market, sell market, trade in pre-market, after hours, all that good stuff. No PDT restrictions. Top Step funds traders in futures. They give them a demo. And again, that's what you're trading on at first, and they test your skill. And if you could pass the test, they fund you the same amount. The base one's only $49. They give you a $50K demo. The ratio in the base one is only a 2-to-3 ratio. You got to make $3K without losing $2K and following the rest of their rules. And just taking that type of challenge genuinely builds your skill. And it makes no sense to put up thousands of dollars yourself in futures and probably lose it. Most day traders lose money. And so instead of putting up thousands of dollars and probably losing that in the beginning, you could try something like this. If you lose, it's not the end of the world, but if you pass it, you still get a 90% split once you're funded. Once you're funded, you get a 90% split. You get to keep your first 10K in profit. Again, there's no PDT rule in futures. Top Step pays out millions, fund thousands of traders every year, pays out millions in actual withdrawals. Great way to learn how to day trade and test your skill. Again, if you're new to day trading, do not put up thousands of dollars. You're almost certainly going to lose it, in my opinion. Not an investment professional, and Top Step is a sponsor of mine, so I'm biased, of course, in their favor. Also, understand this rule. I am terrible at this stuff, have no idea what I'm talking about. Remember, okay, I'm terrible at this stuff, have no idea what I'm talking about. Good luck. Understand CFTC rule 4.41. But yeah, just be safe, guys. Remember, trading anything can be incredibly volatile. And the reason I talk about Top Step being useful is because there's no PDT in futures. A lot of people think you have to day trade stocks to get the same type of patterns. Futures patterns very similar to stocks, in my opinion. Although, again, I am biased. They're a sponsor of mine. They pay me money, so I'm biased, of course. But check them out. Here's the link. Great way to help support the channel. Yes, you can take payouts in XFA. Catching back up on chat from the plug I was doing. Playing Nvidia's playing Russian roulette. I'm not down with that. It depends. Nvidia moves and influences the whole market. That's the big thing. So Nvidia is kind of a gauge on markets right now, especially the tech market. Nvidia's dropped over $50 in the past day or so. That's usually an earnings play. I'm up on Nvidia 62%, so it could go down 10% and we'll be okay. Yeah. From mid-December, hey, nice. You can play the Nvidia ETS, but the IV is just as bad. Yeah, the implied volatility is rough on those for sure. NASDAQ trying to reclaim 500. Yeah, so that's 17.5 level. Yeah, the sound should be here. Hey, what's up, Army? Yeah, I mean, Fred, reach out to all them. There's the Express funded account, which is kind of like a contract between you and them. And then there's the live funded account. Both have pros and cons. If you want more info on that, reach out to them, brother. Nvidia had a market cap 5 years ago of $89 billion. This month, the market cap is almost $2 trillion at $1.78 trillion. Crazy, just crazy. Crazy gains here for sure. So what's the futures equivalent of trading the SPY or the S&P? So again, D. Daniels, okay, so let me explain this. All right, so here's the cue, right? If you like trading the SPY, what the SPY tracks is the S&P 500 futures market. So look, here's the S&P 500 futures market. Because again, you got to understand, like here's the S&P 500 on the left side. Right? It's not open in pre-market and after hours. It's only open during regular market hours from 9:30 to 4 o'clock. And so what the SPY tracks is this right here in the middle, the futures contract of the S&P 500. So here's the S&P, here's the futures contract of the S&P, and then the SPY tracks the futures contract of the S&P. So look, the price action is the same. So here's the SPY, and then here's the futures contract of the S&P. This is what you can day trade in futures with no PDT rule, right here, which is what this tracks, is the futures market of the S&P, right? So this tracks the middle one here, if that makes sense. And again, you can day trade this middle one, no PDT rule, all that good stuff. Margin account, Top Step is, the funded account program you should use. You can check them out in the description as well as in chat. They are a sponsor of mine, of course, but yeah. John, Nvidia will beat estimates, but I feel like others in guidance will fall short of analyst expectations. Maybe. Yeah, I bought PANW just because it's down so much already. But we'll see what they do. Makes plenty of sense. Thanks in advance. Yeah, for sure. And again, I know this because my path to futures look like this, right? I day traded penny stocks for a long time. Eventually, I realized that penny stocks sucked and that most people lose money and that the volatility and the risk is super high. And most of that market is propped up by gurus selling courses and mentorship programs and stuff like that in penny stocks. And so eventually I pivoted over to large cap stocks, right? And I would trade, like, I used to call AMD my baby because I loved trading AMD. It was just consistent movement. Eventually what happened when I started trading AMD, and this was like 5, 6, 7 years ago, eventually what happened is that I started watching AMD and I had great results day trading AMD. But I noticed that, like, AMD and other microchips, and this was when AMD was a very young company, I noticed it and other microchip stocks moved very similar to the SPY, which is the S&P 500, right? So then I trickled over to day trading the SPY and the S&P 500 and realized, like, okay, the reason I'll argue futures over penny stocks is this. Penny stocks, you basically have to find a new stock to day trade every day. You're very rarely going to get consistent volatility, consistent liquidity in any of them. And with that, you're going to have to find a new one to day trade every day that moves with different float sizes, with different price action, with different trends and movement. And it's just going to be incredibly difficult to find consistency there. You know, and when you compare that relative to the S&P 500, which moves very similar, you can learn to trade one specific symbol day in and day out, right? You can learn to trade Tesla, you can learn to trade Apple, you can learn to trade Amazon, and you can have good results learning how to day trade specific securities. A much better way to do that, even than blue chips, and you can do that with blue chips and find discrepancies and all that good stuff, is to trade broad market index funds like the S&P, like the SPY and the Q. So I started trading the SPY and the Q, and then I realized that the futures market allowed me to do exactly the same thing. No PDT rule, all that good stuff. Right, now there's pros and cons. Like, I can day trade the SPY, and that's something you'll see me do here, and I have no commissions. So I can day trade the SPY, 0 commissions, right? But most people don't have that much money. Most people are not funded in that way. And so a funded account program in that regard makes more sense, as well as, like, specifically futures trading makes a lot more sense in that way. Yeah, I mean, AMD and Nvidia are both rivals, so they are certainly competitive with each other in business. Yes, Larkin Luke. I'm intrigued in futures because of trading pre-market and after hours plus PDT rules, funded accounts. Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to learn. And again, the way I always put it is this. Like, you have to understand the true nature. Like, look, I understand the guru market of all these things. Of course, like, I understand. Look, if you research day trading, you're probably going to get some guru out here slanging courses trying to sell you his mentorship program, either in penny stocks or whatever, right? But the reality is, the truth is that none of them will tell you, because again, if these gurus told you that most day traders lose money, you're not going to buy their course, right? It doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow, what strategies you trade, you're almost certainly going to lose your first few accounts in day trading. It's kind of a... They call it market tuition. It's kind of a rite of passage. It's to lose your first few accounts in day trading. And so you got a couple options there. You could either day trade stocks and lose thousands of dollars in your first account, most likely. Or You can day trade futures, learn how to day trade. The patterns are very similar, and you can use a funded account program. So your risk in the beginning on something like Top Step is $49 if you get the base one. If you get the top one, the most buying power, it's only $150. And so if you lose that, it's not the end of the world, and you're still going to have some pressure because you're still risking money, right? So it's a good middle ground of pressure. It's just good for traders. So you get some people that hate on funded account programs or whatever, but the reality of it is, and that's mostly because they take the funded account program and they lose, right? And then instead of saying, hey, I suck as a trader, they blame the funded account program like it's their fault. In the end, most day traders lose. It's not the funded account program's fault. It's not, Thinkorswim's fault. It's just the trader. The trader, it's difficult to do. And so, again, it just doesn't make any sense to me to put up thousands of dollars trying to look cool in the beginning of the market. Most day traders lose. You're just going to lose that. Limit your risk. Try a funded account program. It's going to be much better. What do you think about FOMC buy or sell? I don't know whether you should buy or sell. Really no idea. Alright, guys. Let's see what we get. What else we have? Here's Nvidia. Let me put Nvidia up. There's the E-mini, there's the SPY. We're going to put the Q up. Nvidia consolidating, very flat couple days. I think everybody's waiting for these economic reports to drop. So again, you can kind of see how much choppiness we have. A lot of the time ahead of big economic reports, the market's more flat than normal. Palo Alto is a cybersecurity company, I believe. So there's a 90% split once you're funded, D. Daniels. So there's a 90% split. Here, I'll find the video I have. It's somewhere. Here's the video about why new traders should use type step. Top step, or you get 90%. So basically, once you're funded, it's like this, right? So you pass the account. Say you pass the 50K combine, just as an example, right? So you spend $49, you pass the account, you got to make 3K in profit without losing 2K in a minimum of 2 days. That's the funded account program. So you pass that, right? You're going to get an XFA account. And so you're going to get basically 50K in funding with a 90% split. You also get to keep your first $10,000 in profit. So say you make 20K right off the bat, right? And withdrawable money from them. You're going to get to keep your first 10,000. So you're going to get to keep your first 10K. Now, I don't think you can withdraw all of it at once. I think it's like 50%. You'll have to check with them. But after the first 10K, then you're going to keep 90% on the other 10K. So then you're going to be able to keep 9,000. They keep 1,000 since they're funding you the money, right? And then eventually, if you do well enough there, you can go to a live funding account with different rules and stuff like that. So it depends. there's a lot of nuance behind it. But check out their site. You know, there's a lot of good info on their site. Link is in the description if you want to use my link and help support the channel. All right, so Palantir breaking lows right now. I did buy Palo Alto Networks, which is a cybersecurity firm I'm just learning about today. They are down a little bit, so we'll see if they hold also. But Sony releasing PlayStation 5 Pro in the second half of 2024. Like, PlayStation is good, but it hasn't brought me over from Xbox. Like, what's unique about PlayStation that I can't get on Xbox? Again, Nvidia is going to be an interesting story of the market today, man. Twisted Metal. What are your favorite games on Xbox? I don't play that often anymore. I play UFC 5. I play MLB The Show. Mostly sports games. I don't have time to play anything else, really. Sports games, I can get a quick play in and then finish. I just don't have time to play like I used to when I was young. When I was a young pup. All right, guys. Hey, we got 30 minutes until the market opens. We'll see if we get anything good. Dalton the Spy. Could be a sleeper. Where's Meta at right now? I'm looking at Meta. Meta at 468. You know, it's going to be an interesting day for tech. Again, y'all have to understand the significance of today, right? Today we have Nvidia earnings, right? What this means is that if Nvidia comes in negative for earnings, bad guidance, bad revenue, bad EPS, then the whole tech market, including the rest of the market in general, could tank. So Nvidia, if you know, you get a lot of people predicting crashes, predicting bear breakdowns and all this stuff, right? The truth is, today is going to be one of those days where we could get big parabolic drops. A lot of people have argued Nvidia is extended on the upside. A lot of people have argued that. And a lot of people have pushed a bear narrative where so many people are predicting market crashes and all this stuff. And again, I'm usually skeptical of them because most of the time, like, they're just watching too much news and they're just kind of emotional about markets, right? Not all the time, but sometimes. I don't know if necessarily today is one of the days where it's like that. I think today is a day in which if Nvidia comes in really bad for earnings, the entire market could crap down. Basically, I think the entire market could fail today if Nvidia comes in low for their versus their expectations. I think it's a day in which markets could have a lot of volatility. We also have the FOMC Minutes report. We got Rivian earnings, a bunch of stuff moving today. But Nvidia earnings are the single biggest report we'll have today. And the single biggest report, I would argue, over it, aside from maybe AMD, I would still argue Nvidia is a much larger report. But yeah, it's going to be a day for sure. You know, just to put this into perspective, the last Nvidia earnings call, we got 22,000 viewers tuning into that last earnings call. 22,000 views in about 3 hours. So it is a big day. This is probably the single biggest day for earnings that we're going to get. Nvidia earnings call consistently shows up as the largest earnings report we have in that beginner trading covers each earnings season, every 3 months. Nvidia is single-handedly the largest stock that we'll cover. And so it's a big day. We'll see. We should have thousands of people here when the earnings report drops. Yeah, Jim Cramer bullish on Nvidia, which is interesting as well. Again, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, Kramer, that's a bad sign for sure. It's a bad sign. Yeah, Kramer, that's a bad sign. I'll tell you that. It's not a great sign. And again, we'll see what Nvidia shows up as. We will stream it entirely live. We're going to stream the FOMC Fed Minutes report, Nvidia earnings, all that good stuff live. So it'll be a fun time. It'll be a very busy day. We're going to be streaming today for about 10 hours. 10 hours. So... Elon announced that the X algorithm is going to change this week. When does the Fed speak? So the Fed speakers are happening throughout the day. We're not going to stream any of them. We're going to watch the market reaction to it mostly, but if earnings are good today and it goes down, that's fine. It had a huge rise for weeks. Needs to take a breath. Yeah, I think a correction is normal. I think a correction might even be argued as necessary right now. Market's just up so much. Again, maybe it's time for a pullback. I'm not sure, but it's up a lot. And we'll see what happens, guys. Let me know what you guys think has happened. Good or bad earnings reaction for Nvidia? Good or bad? Let me know what you guys think. All right, I got to go check on my son here. We already know that the earnings will be good, but market makers will most likely do the opposite of what people think will happen. I mean, that's a fair expectation, I would say. I'm an Nvidia optimist. I don't know. I think slight miss to lead to an overreaction sell-off. Again, give me your predictions out in chat. Give me your predictions out. Nvidia will beat the expectation, but it would not be enough to counteract the obvious bubble. Good. Just don't mention obstacles overseas. Guidance should be good. Going to be trading the Qs. This channel was fun. I like reading the chat, listening to opinions. Very entertaining. Hey, thanks so much. Correction is on the cards. We'll create a nice buying entry point. It depends. I'm torn on even buying it. It depends on how much it corrects, realistically. So it depends on how much it corrects. I think beat most likely with some sell-off as banks take profit, potentially. Whale sold last night. No one should take the risk on Nvidia earnings. Crash coming. Yeah, I mean, I've even got out of some of my portfolio because it's just too risky, unfortunately. Like, it's just too risky to sit on major size in this. Even if we make money on the upside, I think there's more room on the downside than the upside today, unfortunately. So for me personally, even, I'm not trying to take that crazy risk. I'm trying to avoid that if I can. Where's Netflix at? I haven't even been watching Netflix. Meta tapped almost 500. We'll see if Netflix almost back up to 600. So we've had really good gains on a lot of these. I'm in Palo Alto, so I did buy that dip. I'm down on that one today, small. I'll probably sit in this though. It may be today after the opening bell. You know, we'll get some better price action. Hit who where it hurts. John still runs his hood like a boss. Boss of all bosses. Good stuff, John. Hit him where it hurts. Hit who? Haha to Daphne. But for my dividend portfolio, everything is looking bizarro today. i.e. backwards of normal. Well, that's kind of been the market. Good has been bad and bad has been good over the last year and a half, I would say. Remember, today we have the FOMC report, the minutes report. It's not the actual FOMC meeting, but it is a recap of what the Fed did during the last meeting, right? So basically what it is, it's a recap of why the Fed chose to make the decisions that they did in the last meeting. And again, if you don't understand monetary policy, let's give you guys a breakdown of it. So every 6 weeks, the Fed makes their rate decision on what if they want to raise or lower rates. If inflation is out of control, the easiest way to understand it is this. All right, if inflation is out of control, one of the Fed's tools to combat that inflation is through raising the federal funds rate. The federal funds rate is actually the rate at which banks charge each other to hold money overnight. Right, so it's bank-to-bank interest rates from overnight holdings, but overall it affects banking's margins because the more other banks charge it to hold overnight, banks react to that. Okay, try to follow me here. And so by raising the federal funds rate, it essentially makes banking more expensive, makes margins worse. Right, when banks' margins are worse, they tend to raise interest rates to consumers. And you might say, well, how does raising interest rates to consumers stop spending? Because if you're paying $1,500 a month in a mortgage, right, and the interest rates go up, instead of paying $1,500, what would be $1,500, you're now going to be paying, let's say, $2,500. So you're going to have less money to spend on other things, and when that type of spending dries up, when you have less money to spend on other things, what happens? Businesses lower prices to compensate for it through supply and demand, right? And so eventually, raising the federal funds rate trickles into lack of spending, lowering spending, and that helps combat inflation, and vice versa. By cutting the federal funds rate, it helps banks. And what do banks do? In order to remain competitive, they lower interest rates to consumers. When interest rates are lower, basically when you're paying less in mortgage payments, you're going to have more money to freely spend on other things, thus stimulating the economy, right? So basically back in 2020, the Fed lowered interest rates to almost zero. They lowered it to almost zero, basically trying to stimulate the economy. Since we had the pandemic and things were so rough, the Fed had to stimulate the economy and protect it. They did it as well in 2008 with the mortgage crisis. And so that's one of the Fed's tools, right? That's what when you hear rate hike, rate decision, that's what the Fed's doing, is that they're influencing inflation and monetary policy through rate decisions and interest rates. Anyways, that happens every 6 weeks. The real question for this year is, when does the Fed decide to start cutting rates, lowering the federal funds rate, basically making banks, sorry, my monitor just went out, basically making banks, helping banks' margins and allowing banks to lower interest rates to consumers. People in real estate, as an example, or the mortgage industry, they're going to want the Fed to cut rates early. Right, they want the Fed to cut rates early because what does the Fed cutting rate early do is it makes interest rates go down, stimulates spending, right? It makes people spend more. Interest rates are down, they save money on mortgages, they end up spending more in return. But I don't think it's time to cut rates. And I think if you go by what the Fed said in the last FOMC meeting at the end of January, it's not time to cut rates. They have sustained pauses, I think, in rate decisions, in my opinion. And I think with inflation data coming in last week much higher than expected, which is not music to a lot of real estate and mortgage professionals' ears, because again, worse inflation means what? The Fed is going to raise the federal funds rate potentially, or at least pause it, making banks more expensive. Banks are going to raise interest rates. It's going to make interest rates go up. And so you have to understand that dynamic of Fed decisions, rate hikes, what it does, why it does what it does. And anyways, today we have what's called the FOMC Fed Minutes report, which is a detailed report on why the Fed chose to make the last decision, which was a pause in interest rates. We've had pauses in interest rates for months and months now. The last time we got a rate hike, I think, was in like July. I think since July, we've had pauses. We haven't raised or cut rates. But again, the question is, when are we going to start cutting rates? And I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, 2020 was the times. The Fed was desperately trying to stimulate the economy, and so interest rates got near zero because they want people to start buying up stuff. Because it's a tough time. Markets were struggling. They did a lot of quantitative easing, money printing with stimulus checks to try to stimulate the economy. They brought rates down to virtually zero to try to stimulate the economy and get us out of that hole. And again, when you start to understand the cycle of it, it makes a lot of sense. Anyways. Hey, nice, Cedric. Congrats. This is Toss, Think or Swim, TD Mayor Trade, Think or Swim. I'm going to go check on my son real quick. I'll be right back. All right, so we're going to go ready to day trade here today, team. We're going to get ready to day trade. Let's get ready. So yesterday we hit our max loss on one of our combine accounts. I think we're still pretty much flat on that account, though. And so that's all right. We'll probably go back to trading that one as well. Let's see one. And just kind of keep trying to get funded. We lost like $50 in our actual funded account on Top Step as well. He's still home from school. He hasn't run a fever in a couple days, but he's still coughing and his nose is stopped up. So we don't want to send him back just yet. We want to make sure he's fully better. It was rough, man. I hear it's going around. Like, he ran a fever for like 4 days, 5 days. High fever, too. At some points, it was like 103, super high. And, I mean, he's a kid, so kids tend to run higher fevers anyway. And he ran a fever for like 5 straight days. He was up all night. It sucked. You know, I feel for him. It's hard when you got a kid sick. But he's finally better. He hadn't run a fever in days. He feels fine. But we're still going to give him a day or two. It wasn't strep. It wasn't C. It wasn't flu. It was all negative. So just a virus going around. Nasty virus. All right. 13 minutes until the market opens. I think Nvidia price cannot increase. Well, cannot and will not is different. You know, it could increase. Will it is a different story. I'm not sure. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. We'll have to wait and see. I'm out of coffee. I don't want to drink too much though. But I mean. All right. So here's the Nasdaq 100 futures contract. We are going to be trading on there today. Getting some downward pressure and volatility here. All right, so for this account that we're currently in, I think we're just going to have to swing for it, try to get a big gain on the day. And if we lose, we lose. It's all good. Oh, dude, why does my monitor keep cutting out? This is the second time my monitor's cut out and then cut back on. Here, I'll be right back. Let me mess with something real quick. Hold on. All right, so that should make it a little bit better. I'm going to short this. Again, I think we kind of just got to swing for the fences here a little bit in this account. It's a combine account, so it's not an actual funded account. And again, we've already posted this numerous times, but I'm going to post it again today anyway. Remember, I am terrible at this stuff and have no idea what I'm talking about. I might be wildly wrong about anything and everything I say. Do not copy me. I'm not an investment professional. The channel's called Beginner Trading because we're just a resource and community. I'm not claiming to be an expert or a guru. Understand CFTC Rule 4.41 and all that good stuff that comes with it. Anyways, we're going to short into this and just kind of risk this. See if we can get a big gain here in this account. Do you think we run higher back to relative highs in anticipation of something juicy in the minutes and Nvidia earnings? define juicy. I don't think that we go. I think we'll probably react negatively to all this stuff personally. I think the market is already up a lot. I think buying is going to start drying up. People are skeptical. And I think the more people that are skeptical, the less people are going to start buying up stuff, personally. So that's my take on it. I tend to think we're going to be a negative reaction here, but I don't know for sure. And again, I'm just, of course, speculating and guessing like anybody else. All right, so we got a big gain. We're up $100. We're up 65. We'll go ahead and cut that. We're up about 100 on the day now in this account. So up about 100 on the day. Got a nice little cushion. We're going to start trying to scalp this. We got the breakdown. Very flat, so I'm kind of just trading, essentially looking at it from a flat perspective. But who knows? But again, just to remember, guys, I really don't know what we're going to get today. I really don't know what we're going to get. I don't know if we're going to go up, down, or sideways. A little bit too close to my mic. Here, let me push it back a little bit. There you go. All right. And again, if you haven't already, check out TopStep Funded Account Program and Futures. They give you a demo. They test your skill. If you can pass the test, they fund you. If you can't pass the test, you're probably going to lose more than putting the money up yourself anyway. Again, it only makes sense to try these funded account programs because they limit your risk. Most day traders lose money, and I get it. Every day trader thinks they're going to make money. I remember when I first got started, I thought I was going to be some prodigy, genius trader. I was going to show my family how smart I was. Carol was like, nah, bro, do not trade. And I was like, nope, I'm going to trade. I'm going to do this. And I lost $4,000 in a couple weeks. Almost cried. Do not do what I did. Understand you're probably going to lose. It doesn't matter what course you take, who you follow, who your mentor is. You're probably going to lose money. Limit your risk through funded account programs. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. You're only out $50 for the base one, $150 for the top one. You still have that pressure. You realize how quickly things can turn against you, but for much cheaper than putting up thousands of dollars yourself and losing that. Again, they're a sponsor, so of course I'm biased, but just listen. Again, I'm biased because they pay me money. They're a sponsor of mine, but still. All right, so we're gonna short this. We're up a little bit in this account already, so we got a cushion here. Let's try to roll this up. Again, I'm okay with losing this account today, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play with it. All right, we got 2 contracts here, decent size. Goal is to scale into this until we can potentially have money. Trying to roll it up in the combine accounts. All right, we're flat. So there's no stock lurking on the funded accounts. It's futures. So you can only trade you can trade anything with the futures. Anything. There's a list on TopStep's site. What I'm trading right now is essentially the Nasdaq 100. It's essentially the QQQ price action. It's what the QQQ tracks is the Nasdaq 100. So I'm day trading that right now in futures. It's the NQ is what this is. All right, so there we go. We're gonna cut half of that. Just lock that in. We're up about 100. Gonna lock that in. So now we're up about 200 on the day. So we just made a couple $100 quickly. We're up about 200. No losses yet here. Again, our goal is to roll this into $1,500 today. We'll see if we get it. All right, so now we're a little bit too far down for me to feel comfortable shorting it. I think again, I'm not telling you what to do. I have no idea what's going to happen. But that type of bounce like this is a little bit more probable now that we had a big, it's all about balance, right? We had a big dip. We might rip back up, especially if we maintain this choppy price action. So, all right, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. 5 minutes. All right, so we did break down a little bit. We're starting to get a little bit too closer to the open too. We do have this double bottom, triple bottom right here. You can see this level. It's confirmed a couple times. We'll see if we bounce off of it or not, or if we break down underneath it. Again, today is a day in which we have major stuff happening. Like we have Nvidia and FOMC Minutes. Typically in these big report releases, the market's slow. It's choppy, it's sideways. And so if I have a bias today, it's going to be attack sideways ranges. If we get towards the top of the range, I might be more likely to trade reversals. If we get towards the bottom of the range, I might be more likely to short or go long at the bottom and cover at the top. It just depends on what we look like, I guess, at the opening bell. But I'm going to be much more likely to attack ranges today, I think, just based off of the day that it is. The volatility that later today might bring means we might get choppiness early before the reports come out. So that's my take on it today. Again, let me know what you guys think, but that's kind of how I'm feeling today. Nvidia is after the closing bell today. All right, so look at that support level we drew. We bounced directly off of it. It makes sense. I don't know. Google that, crypto. What's that, UTC? I don't know. Google it. PANW bouncing back up to 275s. I hope it holds. I'm in it with small size. I'm not going to hold it forever, though. We're going to see if we get a bounce back up, because a lot of the time we do. I think market makers might try to stop me out ahead of it, though. But we'll see. Nvidia here at the top right. You can see Nvidia up there. All right, we got 2.5 minutes, team. 2.5 minutes. All right, so again, we did bounce up a little bit. We got a minute and a half. So we did get that bounce up, kind of what we expected. Remember, we drew an arrow that looked exactly like this candle. Not quite. I don't think this went as high as the arrow we drew did, but still. All right, so we did get a bounce. All right, so there's the market open, and Nasdaq just dumped down. I should have stayed at that short. Big drop at the opening bell. SPY actually moving up, which is interesting, but the Nasdaq is down. Definitely a red start to the day. We got a couple $100 in cushion here, so we'll see if we can play with that. Big dips here at the opening bell. Big drops and everything. Palantir is actually up some. Again, I'm not going to risk too much for PA and W. Tesla open flat. Where is Tesla? I'm in it right now. I'm in Boeing. I'm in Baba. Oh, Tesla's open's not flat. Tesla's all the way back up to 194s at the opening today. That's nice. What about Boeing? Big retracement candle. Look how big the retracement is here for markets. Or for the Nasdaq at least. Boeing down a little bit. Baba's pretty green on the day, but down a little bit since the opening bell. Alright, so we're up a pretty big amount into the opening bell. Look at Nvidia though. Here, let me make this a little bit larger. Nvidia's starting to go green. Here, I'm going to make this 2 candles there, 2 screens instead of 1. Alright, retracement's happening here. So volatile right now, though. I'm nervous about taking any position here. This is so volatile. Tesla, all the way back up to 195. Palantir, all the way up to 2260s. The market loves this, it looks like. See if we can drag Palo Alto back up with me, though. Baba's up nicely, too. Hey, you love to see it. A lot of my portfolio is green. I guess I'm going to buy this, but it's a risky bet. All right, we just made $80 here, so we're up 300 or so on the day. Just over, or just under 300. Scalp that move quickly. We'll buy another pullback here, too, if we get it. Very volatile day, though, here, team. Too quick of a pullback. Tesla now coming all the way back down. I'm going to turn this Palo Alto trade. Let me see. Got a fake out candle here. We're down 55, 60, 100. We got a cushion. So we could probably, like I said, we're swinging for the fences today, having fun with it. If we lose, it's not the end of the world. We'll be all right. All right, let's just swing for it. Close to losing the account. Yeah, we just lost it. It's all right. We built up the cushion. Like I said, we were going to have fun with this account. It's all good. Let me start my other one. And again, to put it into perspective, we have fun with these funded account programs. Man, look at Baba moving up. Baba up to 75. We have fun with them because we can. And again, my TOS account's already funded. But we're also funded in 2 different funded account programs on Top Step as well. So we might have fun with those as well. That was just a combined account. There we go. Again, choppy action here. Choppy action. We did buy that Palo Alto position, and now we're pretty green on this too. Let me see where we're at. Or no, we're not green on Palo Alto, I'm sorry. But we're definitely a little bit better up than we were. Palo Alto right at the 270 VWAP level. I hope it holds. Tesla testing highs and breaking it all the way up to 195 today too. Palantir ripping up. Baba ripping up to 75s. We're almost flat in Alibaba after being down essentially since we bought it. We're gonna stream the FOMC meeting and the Fed minutes report. Palantir at almost 23s. Baba over 75. Tesla almost to 196. Like, look, here's my Palo Alto trade. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's PANW. We added 10 shares to it, and so you can kind of see. I'll show you this actual position. All right. All right, we're testing that VWAP level. Man, Tesla up to over 196. Baba up to 75s. Palantir up as well. It could be a worse day. I'm going to say that. Since the worse open, I guess I'll say. I'm in Apple. All right, so Palo Alto. You know, the crazy part is like this level right here is the flat level for me. For Palo Alto. Right here. 275. Market's so flat. I guess we'll play with this and bet on the upside, but it's so choppy. If we lose too much in these combine accounts, we're not going to trade our funded account today. It just depends. Stagnant, flat. There you go. Creep on up there, sir. Flat on the day on this. It really is too choppy for me to take too big of risks. I'm going to cut this and just wait. My other positions in equities are doing good, but this is too flat for me. Palo Alto almost green on the day after being down all morning. Tesla finally pulling back. We've been green on that one all day, though. Same thing with Baba. Baba we're not green on, but we've been green on the day. Same thing with Palantir. Palantir we're green overall. We got in at like original price was 16s. And then we cut a little bit more and then added back. And so we are nicely green on that one. All right, so Palo Alto pushing up. There we go. We're right around flat on the day. Really, we're up here is the red to green level. It's a little bit higher, actually. Results for what? So the Fed Minutes report drops at 2 p.m. today. Nvidia earnings come out at 4 p.m. or after 4 p.m. All right, so this looks strong now. I'm seeing a lot of blue chip stock strength. All right, so we just made $70 again here in this one. So we're down. We're basically flat on this now. We're back to the top of the range, though. Palo Alto almost bringing me to green on the day. And I actually am green in equities on the day after being red almost all morning. Palo Alto now over the volume weighted average price. Baba breaking highs. We're almost green in Baba today too, man. Or overall position in Baba, which we've been red for days now. I'm not sure when we bought it. But, you know, we bought this one because we thought it was arguably extended on the downside after dropping so much. This thing was at 360s, I believe, prior to earnings. Tesla testing highs again. We are now effectively green on Alibaba stock. We've been holding this one for, let me see when we bought Alibaba. We bought this one. When was my trade? We bought Alibaba early February, so a couple weeks ago. And we are now effectively green on it. I don't know if I like this dip on PA NW though. I guess we'll take a swing here. We're playing around on combine accounts today because the market's so flat and choppy, and I just don't like the risk. And so if we lose this, it's not the end of the world. We got a bunch of combine accounts. What we're really watching is our stock positions. Watch Nvidia trend as well, though. Nvidia, big green action since the opening bell. And now it's starting to retrace back. Tesla had a very green open, too. Such a flat day, though, unfortunately. I don't know if I want to add to this either. There's too much risk in that. All right, Palo Alto right back up to that level. I don't like that retracement and then move back down. It's too flat. We're down $100 on this one. Tesla broke highs. It's a really flat day. If you look at the price action here, we're going to slow down. That's basically what we've gotten. It's just boring. So we're going to limit our risk and slow it down. Mostly manage our stock positions today. We're nicely green. What are we nicely green from today? What is up today? Tesla. Okay, that's what we're nicely green on. Gotcha. All right, Tesla, rip it up. If Nvidia reports low, that will tank the market. It could. I'm not saying it will. It could. We don't know for sure. Anything can happen. It's a day in which we're probably gonna have a lot of volatility. You know, it depends on what happens for these earnings plays, though. All right, so yeah, we're nicely green on the day here. Baba moving back up. I'm trying to give Palo Alto a chance. I will limit my risk if we break under the VWAP though, which I'm probably about to do now. I'm gonna give it one chance to hold, and if it can't hold this, I gotta cut it. I gotta limit my risk. I'm gonna go ahead and cut half of the position at least. Again, Palo Alto down so much. I don't want to, like, I'm willing to hold it, but I'm not willing to hold it that long. Volume weighted average price is kind of my milestone level, and that way if it retraces back up now, fine. We're down like 40 bucks on the day or whatever. If it can't, then we're limiting our loss. On a day where we're otherwise pretty green in equities, we're green net on the day, mostly from Tesla though. Tesla flying up. Alibaba's helping me too. I'm gonna take some share size off of Alibaba because I've been holding it for so long that we're finally green on the day. And so we're just gonna lock in some profit on Alibaba just because we've been holding it so long. We're finally green. We don't have to worry about it anymore. And the market is very flat. Nvidia pulling right down to this 200 EMA volume weighted average price level. This is a big milestone level as well. Both of these 200 EMA and VWAP spots sitting right around the same area here. Like, look at this. Look at this level right here. So you see the 200 EMA and the volume weighted average price right around the same spot. Tesla up to 197s, breaking highs again. There goes Alibaba again, up to almost 76. Take a little bit more off, protect the trade. I'm going to liquidate a couple Tesla shares just to protect the trade at these tops, just to limit risk as well, especially ahead of these big reports today. Trying to risk manage today, scale out of some size. Right now, my portfolio is actually pretty small for what I normally hold. Like, my current portfolio is only about $11,000. So I'm not holding big size in anything, really, which is a very small portfolio. It varies from like 20 to 30K in stocks. But right now, it's only 11K. I've kind of limited a lot of these positions ahead of today's report. And maybe it'll help, maybe it hurt. Like, we could get big wins. If Nvidia kills it and comes in great, you know, we would make money, but I don't think the risk is justifiable for me personally. I just don't think the risk is high, good enough. Google it. It's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Fed Minutes report, and it's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the FOMC Minutes report, and at like I said, I'm going to kind of buy this dip. Kind of a risky play. But again, our job is to take one of these combine accounts and, like I said, I'm going to try to play the bottom range. This is a very risky play. Don't copy me. I'm trying to build up a big cushion on one of these accounts, and I think this is one of the ways it could work if the day's choppy enough. We're still green in equities, but not much. Do it. Bounce. There we go. All right, we took half off there. We are up. Again, today's a choppy day. Ranges are probably going to play a factor here. All right, so we're up now. We just made a couple $100, about $300 from that trade. We're now green on the day nicely as well. So again, the reason I bought it here, I told you guys this morning what my plan was after the opening bell. I think today's a choppy day. I think economic report, Nvidia earnings, a lot of the time traders are apprehensive to take big positions, and the days are more choppy ahead of these reports. And so I don't mind buying the bottoms and shorting the tops today, which is kind of inverse to what I normally do. But we're green on this one on the day. It might be time to just hang it up and just limit our risk here. We're watching the rest of our stocks. Palo Alto's starting to break down. I'm going to give up on this one, I think. we're down 50 bucks in it. I think that's a justifiable exit here. It's too close to the lows, too big of a chance of a breakdown. And again, my job is to limit risk today, and I think that is what it entails. We're still green in equities. Yeah, I'm too worried that Nvidia is going to dump from earnings today, personally. This is futures trading, guys. So this is me day trading futures. And there's no PDT in futures. I can day trade short, buy market, sell market, all that good stuff. You see, this is essentially futures day trading. I can buy market, sell market. I might short this now too, but I'm just going to hang it up. But again, this is futures day trading. I can essentially day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, currencies, gold, silver, and futures. Patterns are very similar to stocks. I'm going to go ahead and take some more off of Alibaba as well. We're going to take another 25% of the position off. But yeah, in the futures market, you can day trade short, all that good stuff. No PDT rule. Limit your risk as well. It's useful. And so again, if you want to try Top Step, they are a sponsor of mine. Of course, I'm biased in their favor because they pay me money. But if you want to check them out, here's the link. You can also check out my other sponsor, a company called Chart Prime. It's a trading view service you can use in stocks, crypto, forex, futures. Again, I try to backtest Chart Prime once a day just to kind of show the validity of it. I'm going to preface this plug with I can't guarantee you're going to make money. Nobody can. They're a sponsor of mine, so of course I'm biased in their favor because they pay me money. But I genuinely think they're useful. And I think that there's a lot of edge that they can give you if you use them right. You just got to figure out when it's working and what time frame it's working on. Nothing's going to work on every time frame. But if we look at like yesterday's action, for an example. So again, number one, look at Chart Prime, call out this latest breakdown. So again, here's Chart Prime. Here's a 5-minute chart. All right, so let's back test them for today. Look at the strong buy signal or strong sell signal, beautiful downward trend afterwards. Look at the strong buy signal here. You got a nice little bounce. I would argue these two were wrong. So we're 2 for 2 today. 2 for 2. Let's keep going back. This one was certainly right. That's 3 for 2. This one was certainly right. That's 4 for 2. This one was certainly right. That's 5 for 2. This one was wrong. That is 5 for 3. This one was certainly right. That's 6 for 3. This one was certainly right. That's 7 for 3. This one was certainly right. That's 8 for 3. This one was right. That's 9 for 3. This one was right. That's 10 for 3. This one's right. That's 11 for 3. This one's right. That's 12 for 3. Again, this one was wrong. We can call that. So that's 12 for 4. So 12 right, 4 wrong. So that would be 12 out of 16. So that would be 75% accuracy if my math is correct in my head. So again, back test it yourself. 75% accuracy, even on a day where I think we have choppiness, so it's harder to predict trends. 12% accuracy. Man, look at Alibaba. Love and life. I'm going to take a little bit more off here in equities. Limit my risk. Nice green day so far, though. But again, I can't fake what I just showed you, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on. You can use these on any time frame, 1 minute. They're not going to work on everything all the time. Nothing does. But let's check a 1 minute chart out. I haven't looked at this yet. But again, it's a choppy day, so trends might be harder to find on days like today. So, but honestly, it looks pretty good for a 1 minute chart. So here's a 1 minute chart, right? More like scalping, day trading. Strong sell signal, drops, bounce, sell signal, drops. This one worked. This one worked. Now, it's shorter term trends, but I don't see any that didn't work today, in my opinion. I might be wrong, though. Strongs, breakdown, buy signal worked. Strongs. This one maybe didn't work. That one worked. That one worked. Honestly, a 1 minute chart's really impressive today. Most of these worked. I don't see very many that didn't work on a 1 minute chart. So you can use them on any time frame. There's tons of stuff. Screeners, oscillators, back testers, all that good stuff. You can check it out. It's like 40 bucks a month if you use my link. Again, they are a sponsor. I'm biased, of course. I always try to tell people that. But again, it'll be a fun day today, guys. We'll cover some of this stuff more later on. And so I'll put the link up if you want to check it out. Use my link. Appreciate it. You can also use this promo code right here. Get 40% off if you use this promo code from Chart Prime. You can scan it or do whatever you got to do. And I appreciate the love, guys. Thanks so much. Y'all be safe. Again, market's probably choppy today. We're going to be back later on. So we're going to close the stream now. We will be back later on today, team. So we will be back. We got the FOMC Fed Minutes report. We've got Nvidia earnings. We're going to stream for like 10 hours today. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you have not already. And I appreciate the love and support. Thanks so much, team. Again, hit the sub button. Hit the notification bell. We will be back later on today. The Fed Minutes report drops at 2 p.m. The Nvidia earnings release is after the closing bell at 4 p.m. So we're going to stream straight through all of that. We're going to go from Fed minutes to Nvidia earnings, all that good stuff. We'll be back later on. Y'all be safe in the market, guys. Be safe. All right. Love you all. Y'all be good. We'll see you guys later.